In this tutorial, we will have a look how we can create multiple levels, how we can create the UI of our levels for each buttons. And before I jump into the coding part, I want to thanks Bertrand Ding for donating on Patreon and 23CT2 Hang Twanang and Rajat Sharma aka Game of Life and Pritham for donating me on Patreon. And if you guys want to do that, you can do it on my Patreon page. Patreon page, I will have the link in the description, and also the source code of this game will be available in the description, so make sure you check that out. So without further delay, let's dive into this tutorial. Before I duplicate my level, I just want to move over to my Mano scene. If you haven't created the Mano scene, then navigate to your project tab, assets, then go over to scenes folder, right click, create, scroll down a bit, say scenes, then click on the scene, and you can just name the scene whatever you want. I already created a scene called Mano, so I'm gonna double click on it in order to move over to that scene. And now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna move over to my hierarchy canvas, and I will select my main menu, and let's disable that one by going over to inspector and then unchecking. So first thing what you need to do, your first step should be basically just go over to hierarchy, right click, then go to UI canvas in the bottom, and then choose the canvas in the hierarchy, then go over to inspector, canvas scaler, UI scale mode to choose from this constant pixel size to scale with screen size, and put in the X or in the width 1920, and in the height or in the Y put 1080. If your game in landscape mode, let's suppose your game in portrait mode, then you can just swipe this value and you are good to go, because it's gonna make our canvas is canvas down or up depending upon our game screen size. That's why we have chosen that, and that is the main reason. So first thing what we will do, we're gonna create an empty parent game object, and we're gonna make that game object as the size of our canvas, and inside that game object we're gonna do all of the things, basically those rest things. So let's select our canvas first, let's right click on it, let's create an empty child game object, and we can name this game object to something like level menu. So we're gonna call this one level underscore menu, just like that. And after doing that, make sure you go over to inspector, rig transform, then click here, hold down alt on your keyboard and choose this bottom right one. And as soon as we have chosen, we can see this game object gets size as the size of our canvas. And after doing that, we can simply create our panel. And before I do that, I just want to split my sprites. Basically, I need to find out my UI sprites. To do that, I will head over to my project tab, then assets, and then I will navigate to my sprites folder, and then I will move over to my UI folder, and inside this UI folder I have one subfolder. Let's double click on this folder, and I'm gonna select this sprite sheet. Let's go over to inspector, open sprite editor, and we're gonna choose pixel per unit to something like 16, and we're gonna leave a sprite mode to multiple, because we can see we have multiple sprites inside this sprite sheet. And after doing that, we're gonna scroll down, and to remove we will choose filter mode to point no filter. And after doing all of these things, we can simply go ahead and then click on this apply button. And after doing that, let's go over to our sprite editor tab. In the top left you can see slash, so just click on it, then select leave it to automatic, then click on slice, and then click on this apply button in the top right section. You will notice inside your sprite editor tab. And after doing that, I'm gonna select my game view once again, and then what we're gonna do, if we click on that arrow inside that sprite sheet, we can see we can notice our individual sprite. So now let's go over to our level underscore menu game object underneath our canvas in the hierarchy. Let's right click on it, go to UI, and then choose this panel, and we're gonna choose the rect tool in the scene view, and then hold down on your alt on your keyboard, so it will resize from the center. And I want to replace this background source image. So if I select my panel, then go over to my image component in the inspector. We can notice source image and it says background. So I just want to replace this one. To do that, I will move over to that UI folder and I'm gonna select that background, and let's drag it over to this slot. And as soon as we drag it, it just changes right away. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to click on this color because we can notice it's totally transparent. To get this off, we need to click on this color, and in the bottom A you can see it set it to 100. So drag it all the way to the right section, or you can just put 255. And now we can notice as soon as we just have done that, we can see that transparent is gone by now. And now we can just create and we can just populate those buttons. So I'm gonna select my panel. So first thing, I will just rename it to, instead of calling panel, I'm gonna say something like background. So let's say background. And after doing that, basically the naming thing, inside this background I just want to have those button. But before I do that, I just want to put a text inside, something like in the top says or say something like levels. So I'm going to choose my background. Let's right click on it. First thing, I'm going to create an empty game object. So let's select that background. Let's right click on it. Let's create an empty game object, and we're gonna make this game object. Basically, I'm gonna call this game object to something like header. So let's call it header or title. Then make sure you go over to rect transform, then click over here, hold down alt on your keyboard, and for this now we're gonna choose this top right anchor one, and we just gonna make the size of it uh, of it like this size. Basically this header, or just want to cover this area because I want to put a text inside this area and I want to have it all the time inside that. So that's why I just created an empty parent game object first, and I just rename it to header, and I just anchor it to stretch in the top direction, basically in the top. And now I want the text inside of this header, so that's why I'm gonna choose my header. Let's right click on it, then go to UI legacy in the bottom, and then choose this text, and we're gonna call this text to something like level text. So let's call this one level, level underscore text, just like that. And we barely able to see it, but before we see that, make sure you go over to rect transform, then click here to hold down alt on your keyboard and choose this bottom right one, because I want the text inside this header and I just want to stretch it. And to make the font size a little bit bigger, let's go over to font size and let's make it something around 70. And I just want to change the color, and also I want to change my font style. I'm gonna choose monogram, and font style I'm gonna choose bold, and alignment I'm gonna choose both of these center. And we can simply call this one something like levels. So instead of calling text, I'm gonna new text, I'm gonna call it level, and we can just increase the size of it. So I will make the font size something around this much, and I guess this seems perfect. And once you are satisfied, you can just populate your buttons, level buttons. So let's do that quickly. And I want those buttons to be inside my background, so now that's why we're gonna choose the background, not the header one. So we're gonna choose our background and we can just place it. So let's select the background. So first thing, I'm gonna create an empty game object. So let's choose our background, right click on it, then go let's create an empty game object, and we're gonna call this game object to something like levels. So levels, or we can call it levels button. Let's call it levels underscore level underscore buttons, just like that. Sorry, buttons. And after doing that, what we're gonna do, we're gonna make this game object as the size of our background. So let's go over to rect transform, and always we're gonna choose this, and make sure it just don't overlap with this UI, or basically the header. So we're gonna bring it a little bit down, and now we can just create our button. To do that, let's select our level underscore buttons game object. Let's right click on it, let's go to UI legacy in the bottom, and then choose this button, and we can call this one button to something like level 1 button. or let's call it simply 1, just like that. And we're gonna resize, so we're gonna hold down alt on our keyboard, so it's gonna resize from the center. And as always, I'm just gonna change the UI sprite of it. To do that, we're gonna move over to image component in the inspector, and we can just drag the UI sprite there if we want to choose. So I'm gonna drag it there. I can choose any of them, but I guess this one just gonna be perfect. Let's choose a rectangle one. Sorry, not a rectangle, square one. So I'm gonna choose this as sprite. Let's drag it over to this source image, and as soon as we drag it, it just changes right away. Let's go ahead. So this is our button, and I want to increase the width and the height. To do that, I will go over to inspector rect transform. In the width, I'm gonna choose something around 160, and in the height, I'm gonna choose 160, just like that. And now it's done, and we need to choose the text inside of this button, and let's increase the font size. So I'm gonna make it something around 60. And also I just want to change the color, and font style we're gonna choose bold, alignment to both of these centers, and now it's done. And instead of saying button, I'm gonna say something like one, and this seems pretty much cool. And font style, I'm gonna choose monogram, and let's increase the font size as something around 90, or let's do it 100. And I'm gonna drag it a little bit up, so let's drag it a little bit up. And now what we can do, we can select this one button, and I'm gonna call this one button one, or let's call it one underscore button, just like that. Button, and we can just duplicate this button. So let's press down Ctrl D to duplicate. And what I'm gonna do, the duplicate one, I'm gonna call it 2 underscore button, just like that. And let's suppose now we are not able to see the second button. To just precisely place inside these labels underscore button scheme object, what we can do, we can select our label underscore button scheme object, and we can add a component called grid by grid. Basically, we're gonna click on this add component, and we can find the component by typing name of the component, and the component that we're looking for is grid. So we're gonna type grid, and we can see in the choose this one, says grid layout group. So just click on it, and as soon as we click, we can see our buttons. And it's still so much small. Basically, we just want to make this button a little bit bigger, so we can just go over to this grid layout group component, and then cell size we can make it something like 200 in the width and 200 in the height, just like that. Or we can simply make it something like 160 in the width, 160 in the height. And we what we want, we just gonna go over to padding. From the left side, I just want to drag it to the right side, so I'm gonna play around just like this. And from the top, I want a little bit down, so I'm gonna increase my top. And we can play around with the spacing, so I'm gonna make a space. So let's choose a space to something around 50. And we can just duplicate this second button by Control D, and we can press down multiple times to just make it. And in the Y, what we want, we just want a little bit space in the Y as well. So we can select our grid layout group, and then spacing we can just move over to in the Y or vertically, and we can that make that to something like 50. So let's make it 50. And from a start corner, I'm going to choose upper left, and start axis we're going to choose horizontal, and child alignment we're going to choose middle center. And we're going to do the same thing, so I sorry, middle center, or we can do upper left as well. Basically, it's fine. And we can just play around with this left side. We can just put it, I guess it is just gonna be fine. And indeed it's fine. And we need to change the button text inside of this button. So the second button, something like it should be 2 3 4, and the list just goes on. So let's do that. So I'm gonna click on this over here, and let's do that. So firstly, this one I'm gonna set it to 2, this one I'm gonna sorry, This one I'm gonna set it this one I'm gonna set it to 3. Then now as you can see it's done, and we can just make this one prefab by now. So let's turn it into a prefab. So we're gonna have the copy of it. So let's select our level underscore manu underneath our canvas in the hierarchy, and let's turn it into a prefab. So that is the reason why we just made it prefab. Now we have the copy. So if we go ahead and then click on this one button, then we just want to reload the first level. And if we just click on this second button, then we just want to load the second level. If I go ahead and then play my game and check this out, this button will do nothing right now. So we need to hook this button with some certain function in order to do that. And we're gonna create a script called level manager, just something like that. And we're gonna attach this script to our level underscore manu game object, and inside that script we can just do that thing. But before we do, we need to make sure that we duplicate our level. So if I go ahead and then click on this one button, second button, or the third button, as you can see it's doing nothing currently. So we need to hook this button with some certain function. So let's get out of play mode. But before I do that, I want to duplicate my sample scene, or in which scene I'm just playing my game. So in my case I'm just doing with this sample scene, and if I just double click on it, and it says, do you want to save the changes you made in this menu? Yes, whatever I have done inside my main menu scene, I want to save it. So that's why I'm gonna click on this save button. And as soon as we click on that save button, we're gonna head over to our sample scene, or in which scene we playing our game. So as you can see, we are sample scene, and I want to rename this sample scene as a level 1. To do that, we can select the scene, and we're gonna right click on it, then rename in the top, and let's rename it to something like level 1, just like that. And what I want to do, I'm gonna enable the canvas of it, and I want to put a text in the top says something like level 1. To do that, I'm gonna select my canvas. Let's press down F in order to focus on it. Let's right click on it. Let's go to UI legacy in the bottom, then choose this text, and we're gonna say something like level text. So let's call it level underscore text, just like that. And we're gonna top anchor it. So we will go to rect transform, then click here, hold down alt on your keyboard and select this top, and we're gonna drag it down. And what we will do, we need to increase the font size because we barely able to notice. To do that, let's go to text component, font size I'm gonna do something around 90, and alignment both of these I'm gonna choose middle center, and color I'm gonna choose to something else in order to make it visible. And I will say something like level 1. So let's say level 1. And also I want to change the font of it, so I'm going to say this one. And font style I'm going to choose bold, and I will increase the font size. So I'm going to do it something around 100, and now 100 seems pretty much fine, as you can see. And we can just drag it down, and now this is our level 1. And let's duplicate this level 1 by adding Ctrl D in order to create the second level. We're gonna create 3 levels in order to testing purposes. So I'm gonna select my level 1, and let's press down Ctrl D to duplicate, and I'm gonna rename this to level underscore sorry level space 2, because this is our level 2. And let's double click on this level 2 in order to move over to that scene or that level 2. So I'm going to click on this save button, and now we are in level 2. So inside this level 2 I want to change the font. So if I select my level 1, we have the thing, sorry. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna select my level 2, I'm gonna delete that one, and I will select my level 1 once again. Just wait a moment. I'm gonna sorry, we have the level 2. Let's move over to level 1 first by double clicking on it. and I'm gonna select the level tool. Let's right click on it and then delete. I'm gonna delete this one, and let's select our level 1 once again. Then I'm gonna press down Ctrl D to duplicate to create our level 2. And if we move over to level 2, so this is our level 2, and I want to change the text in the top, saying something like, instead of saying level 1, we're gonna say level 2, so we can identify that this is our level 2. So I will head over to hierarchy canvas. Then I'm gonna choose my level underscore text, and I will say something like level 2. And now let's create our level 3. So I'm gonna select my level 2, and let's press down Ctrl D to duplicate, and this will be level 3. So let's double click on that level 3 in order to move over to that level 3 scene. And also I want to change the text, so let's navigate to hierarchy canvas and then level underscore text, and let's say something like level underscore 3, just like that. And we can just move over to level 1 by double clicking on it. So this is our level 1, this is our level 2, and you can see in the game view or in this in view, as you can see, and this is our level 3, level 3. And now what we need to do, I'm gonna move over to my menu scene by now by double clicking on it, and we need to drag all of the scenes there. So basically we need to move over to top left file, then build profiles, and we need to move over to this scene list in the left side, you can see. So just select in the top, and we can see we inside this scene list we just only have our menu scene and the level 1. So we need to drag our level 2 as well as the level 3, or else we're not gonna able to load those scene. So I'm gonna take my level 2 from that same folder inside my project tab, and I'm gonna drag it over to my this scene list. And now let's take the level 3 and then drag it there, and make sure all of the scenes is there, else it's not gonna work at all. So you need to make sure that you have all of the scenes inside your scene list. And after having that, make sure you move over to your menu scene, and you can create a script called level manager, and you can just make that, and we gonna attach that script to our this buttons to this level underscore or any game object in the hierarchy. And inside that script, we can just specify that if we click on this one button, then we want to load up the first level. If we click on the second button, then we want to load up the second level. And if we click on the third button, then we just want to load up the third level. Basically the procedure we need to follow to load up a level. Basically if we want to load up the first level, then we need to click on this first button. So let's create a script for it. So let's move over to project tab, assets, and then I will head over to my script folder. Let's right click, create mono behavior script, and you can name that script to something like level manager or scene management. I already created a script called level manager, so we can attach this script to any game object in our hierarchy, or we can create a separate game object for this. So let's do that. So I'm gonna move over to my hierarchy. Let's right click, create an empty game object, and I'm gonna name this game object as the name of my script, which is level manager. So I'm gonna call this one level manager. And let's go to transform, and I'm gonna reset the transform, and let's select the script, drag it over to add component section in order to attach that. And let's quickly open up in by double clicking on it inside Visual Studio. I will remove this start and update function, I don't need. Instead we're gonna create a function in order to load our scene. And whenever we're gonna work with scene, we need to make sure that we just move over to top of our class and include this namespace called using Unity Engine dot scene management. So we're gonna use this Unity Engine dot scene management. So make sure you include this namespace top of your class whenever you're working with scenes. And now what we're gonna do, we're gonna make a public because we're making public since we want to call through a button. If I move over to my Unity editor, canvas, and then select this level underscore menu, then background, and let's suppose if I move over to my level underscore button, select the first button, go over to inspector, scroll down to my button component. We can call the function here. So that's we need to call the function here. So that's why we're marking that function as public. So now for function we're gonna type void, and we're gonna call this function load level. And this function just gonna take an argument as a string we can pass. So since I want to check with build index, so I'm gonna pass this int variable, and and we can call this one index. So let's call it index, then make this first curly brackets. So this index later on we're gonna replace with 0734, just like that. We're gonna do that, replace with any number that we would like to go with. Let's suppose we want to load up the first level, then as an index we're gonna pass 1 basically means the second level. If I move over to my Unity editor, then go over to top left file, build profiles, and then scene list. As the list we can see level 1 index, or the build index, we can notice in the right section is 1. So as an index, if I pass 1, means I just want to load up this scene. Let's suppose I want to load up the third level. So third level we can see index is 3, so we can pass the index is 3. So let's cut this step. Now we have seen the index. Let's move over to our script, and to load that up we need to use this scene manager, scene manager dot load scene function. And this function, we do know it's gonna take inside quotation the name of the scene, or we can simply pass the build index of it. So I'm gonna pass my build index, which is index I just passed, and let's close that up with semicolon. And as an index I can pass any number. If I want to load up the third level, then I want to pass the index 3. If I want to load up the first level, as an index I need to pass 1. So now we need to call this function through a button. So let's save our script, and let's get over to Unity editor, and let's check it out. Sorry, I'm gonna cut this step. So let's get over to Unity editor. Now the script compilation is done, and I'm gonna select all of my buttons by holding down shift. Let's go over to inspector, scroll down to button component, and then click on this plus icon. And now we need to drag the game object in which game object the script is sitting on. So in my case it's sitting on level manager, so I'm gonna drag it there. And then we're going to click on this no function. Let's go over to level manager C# class or script, and in there we can notice we created this load level function. So we're going to choose that function. Means whenever we're going to click on this, let's suppose if we click on this first button, then what we're doing, we're just going over to this level manager game object first. And if I select my level manager, we can see that level manager script is sitting on this level manager game object. So that's why I just drag the game object, and then after going level manager game object, then we moving over to this level manager script we can see, and from there we calling the function called load level. Means this function we calling through a button. And now if I select the first button, so since I want to first load up the first level, so as an index, if I scroll down to my button component in the bottom, we can see we can just pass the index as an argument. So I'm gonna pass 1 because 1 index is the first level. And if you just want to make sure, then you can just move over to top left file, build profiles, and then you can just go over to scene list, and you can see the index of that level in the right side, basically the build index, and name of the scene you can see in the left side. So in my case this level 1 index is 1, or the build index, so that's why I'm gonna pass over here 1. And then I'm gonna choose the second button, and as an index I'm gonna pass 2, because if I click on this second button, then I just want to load up the second level, and the second level build index I have seen, which is 2. So that's why we just pass 2. And now I'm gonna choose the third button, and I will pass my level index 3. And now it's done, and we can just go ahead, we can do with this fourth button, fifth button, sixth button, and the list just goes on if I have those level. So since I only have 3 levels, so that's why I just want to check with the first, second, and the third button. So let's go ahead and check this out. Now it's done, as you can see. If I click on this first button or one button, we're gonna head over to first level, and indeed we just if I pause my game by clicking pause button in the top and move over to my game view, we can see level 1. And if I get out of play mode and then play my game once again and then click on this second button, we should load over to second level. So let's check this out as well. Second button, just wait. And indeed, if I pause my game in the canvas, basically in the top screen of my game, we can see we just headed over to level 2. And once again, I'm gonna test with the third button. So if we go ahead and then click on this third button, we should load over to third level, and we can check this out. That's why I just put a text in the top to just identify in which scene or level we just moving over to. So if I click on this third button, just wait, and indeed we just move it over to third level. So I hope you get the idea that how you can create multiple levels and how you can make the menu in order to load them. And I'm gonna get out of play mode. So I hope you get the idea of this, that how you can do it, and I will see you in the next tutorial.